Welcome to Unschool, where we undoctrinate you from public school nonsense. Grocery prices are completely out of control. They're up 30% in the past 3 or 4 years, at least since coronavirus started in 2020. They're just through the roof. It keeps getting worse. Apples in Washington State, the Apple State, will cost you over $2 for a single apple sometimes. That's ridiculous. It says here from Not the Bee. You need $137 to afford what $100 in groceries cost 5 years ago. Here are examples of how prices have increased. Do you remember, 5 years ago when they weren't telling us to eat cereal for dinner to save money? Yeah, that was an actual article they produced. It's pretty ridiculous. When they're not telling us to eat meat because we're evil, they're telling us to eat cereal instead. In grocery stores, a Benjamin just isn't what it used to be. From beef to mayonnaise, where consumers are spending more to buy less. Average unit price change from 2019. Sports drinks up 80%, eggs 63, pizza 37%. Everything's way up in price just from 2019. Prices for hundreds of grocery items have increased more than 50% since 2019. As food companies raised their prices, executives have said that higher prices were needed to offset their own rising costs for ingredients, transportation, and labor. Yeah, people blame corporations, but they're the last on the list of things to raise prices. I mean, it really starts with the Federal Reserve. You could argue it starts with us when we tell the government to save our butts from a recession and the government can't afford it, so they print more money and they push more money into the system to create a new bubble. And as higher levels of money are chasing the same amount of goods, you have higher rates of inflation. This eventually leads to a bubble. The bubble eventually pops, causes a recession, and then we ask for the government to save our butts again. That's basic economics right there. How bad has it gotten? You may honestly not believe it when you see it. Here, for instance, is a gallon of milk in 2019, uh, 3.96, and here's a gallon of milk today after a half decade of awful politicians and disastrous policies, 4.57. Change nearly 60 cents more. Now, if you're if you're of a cynical bent, you might shrug and say 60 cents, big deal. Who can't afford 60 cents? That might be true if the milk were the only price going up, but it's not. Everything has skyrocketed. Here, for instance, is butter over the same time period, 378 to 474. It's not good. 236 to 384 for eggs. Chicken is up, right? Flour is up. Very few people just buy straight flour anymore and actually cook anything themselves, but still, that's relevant. Basically, everything you need on a daily basis has gone way up. It has gotten so bad that some consumers are shopping like it's literally the end of the world. Consumers have also become creative to cope with the stretch of record food inflation. Sharon Failton, a 74-year-old retiree from Underhill, Vermont, said that instead of a wallet punishing ordeal, she tries to think of trips to the store like procurement raids depicted in apocalyptic novels, where the goal is to stock her fridge, freezer, and pantry for as little money as possible. Wow. It's not good. It's kind of like 1930s in the US when inflation was through the roof, you know? At least it's not the Weimar Republic yet, where we have to go to the store with wheelbarrows full of cash, but it's gotten pretty bad. This is the Home Alone grocery prices. Because in the first Home Alone movie, almost 30 years ago, 25 years ago or something, oh, right there, 1990, 24 years ago, he walked home with, some huge bags of groceries for less than $20. And those same bags of groceries would cost significantly more today, up 248%. And people wonder why they feel like they're treading water and having a hard time catching up. It's because the government is promising you free stuff that it can't afford, which leads to higher rates of inflation. And then corporations have to spend more money to pay for labor, to pay for manufacturing, to pay the distributors to buy goods, so on and so forth. Everyone's prices go up, and then it gets passed on to the consumer. Yeah. So $72 for what would have cost less than $20 in 1990. And then you have this as well, showing the basket of goods you could buy for the same amount of money. $100 just doesn't buy what it used to. I'm not sure that's accurate. $100 could still buy you more than a bread and some bananas, but it is displaying the fact that less and less is available to buy these days. So that's unfortunate.